Let's bring back to the show podcast host Katie Miller. Katie, we always love having you on the show. It's always great to have you on with us to talk about this. So what do you make of him not knowing his own state laws and the U.S. Constitution? The First Amendment doesn't give anybody the right to protest inside a church. It's private property. Supreme Court cases have repeatedly held that up. It would have been okay if they were out on a public sidewalk. They can't do what they did. What do you think?
I think it's unsurprising Keith Ellison doesn't know his own state or federal laws. If you remember, he's a supporter of the Nation of Islam and has his own troubles with domestic violence. When you're in trouble with the law yourself, it's hard to remember it as it applies to other people. You know, he's one of these people who now the Trump administration is going after for his ignorance or willingness, I should say, to go along with a $9 billion scam of Americans at the hands of Somalians in his own state. At a certain point, when the scam is that large, are you stupid or are you ignorant? And I think in his case, it's quite frankly both. Liz?
You know, what's really at issue, too, is how come Democrats can't acknowledge that more than 10,000 criminal illegal aliens have been arrested in Minnesota since January? More than 300,000 criminal illegal aliens have been arrested just since 2023, Katie. The thing is, people understand that there is a serious debate about what happened in the fatal shooting by ICE of Renee Good. Should they have shot out his tires? They're not trained to do that. So there is a serious debate about that. Let's get your reaction to President Trump on who they are arresting in Minnesota. Watch this clip.
I can show you some of the people, vicious, many of them murderers. These are all out of Minnesota, just Minnesota. I say, why don't you talk about that more? Because people don't know. Do you want to live with these people? They're drug lords, drug dealers. They're the mentally insane. There's some of them who are brutal killers. They're mentally insane. They're killers. We just took this off a stack. We have many stacks like this. Like, I could go 30 times what I'm showing you now. Relations with Hezbollah, that's nice. I could have done 10,000 of them. You're lucky I only did like 100.
Katie, here's the thing. Democrats, sanctuary politicians are trying to have it both ways. They're misleading America. The reason there was no uproar over President Obama's 3 million deportations is because under Obama, ICE was allowed to go into jails to detain and deport criminal illegals. Now, Democrats are blocking ICE from doing that, forcing them to do public, visible actions out on the street.
Jacob Frey, Tim Walz, Keith Ellison, these are all people who use incendiary, hateful rhetoric to talk about our brave ICE officers who are out there every day doing what is lawfully charged by Congress to protect American citizens. You saw President Trump today go through a litany of very serious crimes that have been perpetrated in the United States at the hands of illegal aliens. If you remember, ICE is only in Minnesota in the first place because of the scam that was perpetrated on the American people to the tune of $9 billion. And once ICE is there, you're right, they're going to protect public safety, which includes removing gang members, assault, rape, murder, all of whom ICE is going out there every day putting their own selves at risk, their families on the line, to protect American citizens. And what are Minnesota leaders doing? They're demonizing them, and they're using that rhetoric to hopefully get them attacked, shot, and killed, and it has to stop. And that's why I'm so grateful to see President Trump today going through those crimes and saying what our brave ICE officers are doing every single day, Liz.
You know, voter polls, Americans want legal. Come here legally. Come to America legally, not what's going on. Thank you, Katie Miller. Great to see you again.